Hey, hello. I am so late tonight. I apologize. Things happen, I guess. I had planned to be here a little earlier, of course, at 9. Then I moved it to 9:30. Then I moved it to 10. But I am here at 10. Really appreciate it. And this is Dissident Science. Hey, sorry about that. And we'll see who comes up tonight because obviously with me being late, that sort of whacks everybody out, their planning stages, etc. But I do appreciate it for those people who are coming by to say hello. And it'll probably be a little bit shorter tonight. I didn't even have time to change the title. You get busy weeks. It says different time tonight, only at 9:30. Wait a minute, Dave. It is 10 o'clock. And I'm sure some people are going to be falling in because they're going to see it's going on there. Double check that this, in fact, is going on. And I do see that it says live. And it gives me new theory types. Hey, there we go. New theory types. It's actually from last week. But it was actually a very good session last week. If you haven't seen it, go to my channel and see the week before this. Had a really good section. In fact, it was so good. One part of it, I did make a video from that one section because I can download that, take a piece of that. Turned out to be quite nice. I was pretty proud of that, so I thought I would put it because I could feel that was a really good run in there, talking about more than one theory. What do we do? Especially right now when we're in model, some people call it model chaos. It's not model chaos, it's a model revolution, and we have different types of models, so that's pretty cool. And I continue to work on the website Science Woke, really going forward with that, keep adding some articles. We're getting really close. We do have a launch time. I want to be at June 1st. I'm hoping to do that before then. I also have a new channel that I want to be launching with that to try to bring a lot more people in this direction and getting people science woke. And I really do hope to get more people who are critical thinkers today, excuse me, in other areas to become aware of the problems we have in big physics and big science. Trying to use these words a little different. We call it big science. We call, of course, so we talk about big pharma, the war machine that goes on. War is a racket, as Lisa says. I'm sure she's already sleeping and saying, what happened with Dave? But anyways, I do appreciate you guys coming by. If you have some questions, of course, bring them my way. I have them. I'm watching here, so want to really make sure the audience does, in fact, get a chance to interact. That's why I do have this, because a lot of times I do get some questions. But I do have videos planned. I did make the one video on the most important book ever written in geology. And of course, that's this book here. If you haven't seen it, go see it. I talked with James Maxlow, and he is trying, and he's been talking to Amazon about that, how to get that book out there. And right now, it's just not happening. And he's contacted the publisher that he's been working with, and they've said, no, it should be, coming out. It should be there. But in fact, it is not yet. I think it is on the website in Italy, if I'm not wrong about that. So I think it is somewhat possible to get it. If you contact him, you can ask him. But I did make links on that video to the book, the links that we do have. And of course, I got a book because he sent it to me. It just showed up in the mail. That's not a cheap endeavor to have him coming and sending me a book that long. There I am. Oops, just coming through, just double checking. So I do thank people coming by again. I apologize. Normally we have a good number. It's growing. Get almost up to 1,200 people. I do appreciate people. I know a lot of my subscribers do tell other people about this channel. But I am planning on how do I talk to some bigger audiences, because I do have that planned. But of course, I've told you this before. I hope those people who are here maybe haven't heard it. But Science Woke is the channel that the website that we're looking to launch. And the idea is to have a website that allows people to, when I talk about being science woke, when I talk about being a critical thinker, we need to have a landing place for that. And I've been working a lot on it. In fact, we have a website called Basecamp, which we subscribe to. It's not cheap but for our organization, the CMPS. And what we do is we keep ourselves all the tasks that we need to do. We have our conference coming up, and that's one of the things that you may want to really think about. If you're on the West Coast, that we're having our conference from the 26th of June until the 29th. The 29th is a Saturday. You can come for one day. That's not a problem at all. We have people do that. And it is absolutely fantastic, because you got lots of critical thinkers, and that's the idea. And you have a great time, because that's all you have to talk about. You don't have anybody else or people questioning you. But I certainly do want to cordially invite everybody. You don't have to be a physicist. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to even think that, well, maybe I won't understand anything. Caramba. Sorry about that. Not true. There I did. I just sent a yawn through the universe. But it's definitely worth it. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. And here is our website, just to show you where about our Science Woke website. Let me get that back to the beginning here. And let's click on that. And there it is. And been working on it, even the programming part of it, so it looks good on a phone. If you really crunch this up, the browsers now will make it look like what it looks on the phone, and looks well on a phone. Actually, it looks pretty good. But I'm not going to open it up all the way there. This is what it would look on a tablet form. You can see some of the articles that we have that are really right in the beginning. The first one is an article about Become Science Woke. I've been writing lots and lots. I don't know how many articles now I've written to prepare for this. We have our authors that are writing for this already. We've got some authors lined up. So if you go to about, of course, if you can see this, our editorial staff, you're going to see we're adding to it. I'm trying to get more people. There's Dr. Alexander Unsker, who's a senior editorial staff. He's a German physicist. He wrote the book The Higgs Fake, Bankrupting Physics, and Einstein's Lost Key. If you haven't seen those, I've done videos. I've had some interviews with him. He's an absolute great guy, a really good guy. I really admire, and that's Harry Hemlin Ricker III, and he is on the East Coast of Maryland. And he is a fantastic writer. He is truly a great science writer, and we have him on board. In fact, he wrote a bunch of articles from our CMPS website, but it was not geared for the average science lover. And he wrote all those and said, Harry, we've got this new website coming up, and we're going to turn on the spigot, meaning we're going to get a lot of people in this direction of this website, sciencewoke.org. Again, you can go to sciencewoke.org, put in your email, and of course you can get alerted when we do launch this. But he really has a lot of articles, and I'm just taking his articles from the CMPS website and moving them over. But he's been a writer for quite a while. And then he got involved with the electromagnetic theory. He was inspired by papers by Ivor Katt. And he is a scientist, I think he's an electrical engineer actually, and he is an electrical engineer from England. And then we have Laurie Gardy, who has ability really. I just met her in 2017 actually. You can see a picture of her from our conference in 2017 at the University of British Columbia, and she's the fractal lady. In fact, she was wanting me to make a stinger, that is that little graphic in the beginning that we have. And I said, yeah, I will do that. She needs a logo, so I'm going to be working on that for her. But she has some ability to write in generalities, and has written a couple of the articles. In fact, if you do go to our the website you can't go to yet, but if you want to take a look at it, we're looking at people to look at the beta tests, the site as it is now. We continue to fill in the things. In fact, it'll tell you that if it's not been worked on at all, I have that sort of programmed in. But if you go to the editors, we have let's see, where are those? Come on, about, no, not the editors, about the editorial staff, and this is a subdirectory, and you can see all the articles that these people have written. This is, of course, on the website, which you can't see, but you can see. Here's 4 articles by Henry Ricker, Herbert Dingle. Oh my goodness! I am just yawning. I don't know. They say that's because you need oxygen. I don't know if that's true. But anyways, Herbert Dingle, maverick scientist, anti-Einstein philosopher of science. So that's a really good article. He was a contemporary of Einstein and was fighting Einstein till his death. Once he became popular. Of course, that was not a popular thing to do. The Delusion of Particle Fever, and that was there was a documentary that came out, and he wrote this back in 2015. Great article. Like I said, he's a real science writer. He could write for a science journal easily. Supermassive black holes, more than fiction than scientific fact. He was, again, wrote this paper. He's got many, and he also wrote a really nice article on my documentary, Einstein Wrong. I was quite flattered by it. In fact, he was totally surprised by it. I think people are surprised by the Einstein Wrong documentary because people are not used to, somebody who's a scientist that would actually make an entertaining film. And we actually filmed with my mom and my family for over 8 years. My daughter was born by the time the documentary came out. She was in the 3rd or 4th grade. And her birth is in the film. So, but he did write something that was quite nice about that. And of course, we have some. I'll show you some more about editorial staff. The Unzicker articles. He has 3 of them. They've been translated to English already. Can dimensional constants have fundamental meaning? Yeah, that's, again, you're going to read it. It says, of course. But again, it's blog. I think some of these were in German, and he's translated them, had them translated to English. Mach's principle relating gravity to the universe, and then, of course, a brief history of quantum gravity, which is quite interesting. And I made some nice graphics for these so that we look like a magazine. Of course, that's what it says. Science Woke is a science online magazine for critical thinkers. And the idea will be in the future, we all can send people this way who want to learn what this channel is about, what the CMPS is about, why this even exists. So, that's something that is going to be very important. We have to have a landing page. And that's what this is, and that's what this is. Here's our mission statement. The mission of the Science Woke website is to be the online journalistic magazine for critical thinkers working outside the mainstream science. Unlike other magazines, this magazine supports all the views of its author in pursuit to find better scientific models, theories, and explanations for natural phenomena. It is not our job to explain truth, but rather to present and create critical thinkers. So, we just don't believe in truths, basically. We can believe that our models and our understanding of certain things are very good. Like we know there are atoms. I guess that's a truth. But again, it's not really important. We have to get away from the idea of truth and just try to keep explaining and thinking of science in a critical way. And one of the things I did put in this, and it had a lot to do with the last week's talk, which I talked about how and why do we have all these models. We have all these models because we're in model revolution. That is, our current model is just terrible. Vis-a-vis, take a look at the latest, one of the later books to come out of a physicist who left the fold of particle physics and writes about the models that they came up, which were really absurd, the multidimensional, the just crazy stuff. The Hadron Collider was supposed to show these things correct, and it wasn't. And so we are in model revolutions. Actually have been there for over 450 years. There's an article I have on this website about that. So, and I've been adding new articles all the time. The reason I am doing that is because, in fact, we just have so much to talk about, and I want to make sure we cover the basis before we launch this site, so we don't have like, well, what about this? So become science woke, a model revolution is here, and here's why. How big science fools us all. Why mainstream science sees no crisis. These are things that we're going to get as questions, and we're trying to do the amazing progress outside mainstream. That's about the new theories and critical thinkers versus intellectuals. That's one I've written, and I'm actually continuing to write this article. This is the universities are failing at science education, and that's also a really good article. We are the best scientific society on the planet. Here's why. And here's another one, a recent one I use. Science evangelists are the mouthpieces for big science. That is, they parrot it. It's got a quite good. And then I also have the newer articles coming that I have posted out here. Oh goodness, I am just yawning here. Here's a new one that I just am writing. That is about the book The Lost. You can see that was written in February of this year. Physicist leaves particle physics and authors lost in math. So I'm just starting this. This is my video about that. And again, you can see we're continually writing these. So these are the articles that we have that we're going to have for this website, of course. And you know, that's what I've been working on, and I have other people working on it. I even spent a good part of my break over Christmas, because I do have vacation time, and I spent many days getting this in shape, also making it look good on a phone. So if you guys right now, if you're interested in taking a look at this website, send me an email. Send it to david@dissidentscience.com and say, hey Dave, I'd like to help out and take a look at it and give you feedback on that. I'd be very happy to do that. So hello everybody. I've got 5 people. Normally there are even more, but of course I was an hour delay, but I appreciate you being here. And I also know people do watch these. That was one of the things in the beginning, when we only had a couple people here and there, and then now we've gotten up to 10 to 15, almost 20 people sometimes during these when I'm on time, but I had a change in shift in schedule, so couldn't avoid it. But you know, I do know people that you're probably, well, the majority of people are watching this. Coming up to a recorded, so I'm coming up to 100,000 views, and that is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I have ideas and I know how to grow this channel, but until I get this Science Woke website, I said this 1,000 times, I really don't want to turn on the spigot, because they're going to come in our direction. They're going to do, what can I do? Well, I mean, I do have something for you guys who are my subscribers, something new that I've put, and I'll show you that. I think I've shown it before, but I'll show it again. Here's my website for this channel, and I do have things here, and I do have a button called recommendations. I don't have James Maxwell's latest book, because you can't get it here in the United States or on Amazon here in the United States. But you can see here are some book recommendations: The Higgs Fake, The Dinosaurs in the Expanding Earth, The Infinite Universe Theory. I'm going to put another one of Borkert stuff. I also have the Deneau effect, which is super important, I think. The expansion tectonics. Take a look at Neil Adams. He's got lots of those videos, and here is, of course, the Expanding Earth parts 1 through 4. This was before they could have really long videos and YouTube. Now you can have much longer. Here's Glenn Borkert talking about infinity and the science assumptions. Really great. And of course, there's my movie with my poster, that's also available. It's $3 to watch at one time, or $10 to own it and be able to see it anytime you want on Vimeo. If you are not a person who can even afford it, because I know a lot of people are in dire straits, especially people who are retired. Some of the people we have in our organization are retired and they're on a fixed budget. If you do want to see it, I can send you a free watching of that, or a free rental to take a look at it. So there it is. And Here's some of our channels. If you haven't subscribed to them, then you can. So that's the Science Dissident website, and I do have that available. So folks, I see there's no chatter at all. Either you guys are just sort of listening in the background. I know one guy said, hey, don't play your stinger, Dave, because it wakes me up during your live. I thought, okay, so people actually tune into me. I actually had one friend, I won't name who it is, but when I lived in Brazil, I would actually just have the person said, Dave, why don't you just talk? And when you talk, I go to sleep. It's like having the TV on. So I would just talk, and they would go to sleep. I think, oh my goodness, what is going on? Why is it that I put people to sleep? But of course, you know, the YouTube is full of places where people whisper and have these super treble type of sounds, and there are all kinds of starts going on. So okay, but I will wake you up with the stinger. I do have, like I said, I'm working on, my father has a really a nice one. I think I have it here. Let me take a look here. Let's take a look at it. Hey everybody, here's some of the graphics I did. For those who haven't seen it, my father is going to be using it. He's working on, oh, I'll have to tell you about what my father is working on with the particle model, trying to show predictions using just plain old resistors that regular physics would not see or predict. So this is in homage to my father's Particle Guru physics YouTube channel. Let's take a look at the little intro I made for the Particle Guru. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Not, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. It's got the particles in it. Again, I didn't make all the graphics. There's a company that does that, but you can put in your stuff and work on it and get some things. But it's quite good. It's quite reasonable the price. So I got that, and it gives me the ability to make about 5 of those a month. So I'm going to be making for them. I make them for people's channels. So if you have a channel and you want a stinger kind of thing there, just let me know. But let me tell you and talk about my father's work. If you go to particle.guru, that's all you have to type in, folks. Just particle.guru. I will show you there. There we go. I don't know if I can bring it down. No, I can't bring it down. But I type in just particle.guru. That's it. Not a .com, not anything. It should go to his website, and there it is. And you can see, got the logo and everything. And here are his videos. He does very interesting, very well organized videos. So it's not like me, which I can I have outlines, but I sort of just talk about it. Well, he does too, but he's much more methodical about it. And he does have some really great, if you go to youtube.particle.guru, you will get to his YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see some of the topics of what he is doing. I don't want to go there. So let's go to the videos. The 5 problems of physics, redshift and tired light. And he's talking about measuring wavelengths, measuring the electron mass. Really interesting stuff. So even if you just want to learn some of the basic things in physics, measuring the mass of the electron, part 1. Electromagnetic radiation equals mc squared, calculating energy. He is really, my father has a really great ability to break things down to their very fundamental and easily understood pieces, and that's one of the things that people admire about him. He's quite admired in our group. When we first started, I was worried about it, not because he's not a smart dude, he is, but these people have been around for many decades talking about theories and stuff, and he did quite well. The hammer and the feather, why would they fall at the same rate? What kind of thing does, in fact, the particle model say about this? Questions and inertia, that's really great. So it is really quite a good channel. The speed of G2, what is that? Well, we have infinite levels in our model, and G2 goes quite fast. And he's talking about what is inertia, what is mass, and of course that what is mass is all dependent on what you what your model of the universe is, the physicality of your model. So one of the things I did tell you that I would talk about his work is what he's doing right now. Right now, in fact, he has rented a very expensive voltmeter. A voltmeter, what is that? It's one of those things that you see if you have a circuit. You can take the probes and you take a look at it, and it will measure current and give you measurements. And for an electrical engineer who's building these circuits, it's going to tell you they expect certain things to be done. The components are actually changing electrical flow. That's all they do. You can even think of it, you know, circuits as pipes and valves and those kinds of things, and different mechanisms to make the water flow, not flow, come, you know, all those kinds of things. And he rented a machine to measure voltage to 6 digits. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's very expensive. He couldn't buy it, so what he did is he rented it. And he's going to put resistors in parallel. What are resistors? Well, when you look at a circuit board, I don't know if I have a circuit board sitting around here. Do I? Well, circuits have, if you ever see those little round things, there's a wire that goes in one end, it's like this round cylinder, and then it comes out, and it's got usually painted lines on it. Those are resistors with painted lines, tell you what values those resistors are. And the idea is there's a resistance that when you send current through, less comes out of the other side. And so what happens is he is now putting them in parallel, and our model says that circuit boards and circuitry have the electricity is not only going through the wires, it is actually going through and going around the resistors themselves, and so you get magnetic fields. And so anyways, that is something that he is measuring, and according to our particle model, when we measure the voltage across these, what we end up, what we do is we have a prediction of something that's not going to be exactly the same as the electrical engineer's calculations would show. That's because actually having the two resistors close to each other, like these are the resistors, there's actually what people call fields around them, and those things affect the way the current is, because we say magnetic fields, gravity, light, electricity, that all travel at the speed of light. Well, if they're all traveling at the speed of light, then we're saying it's the same particle. Why would we have all these other things traveling at the speed of light that aren't? So that's part of our model. And so what he's saying is when you put those resistors together, you have measurements that then he could say and predict these are going to have difference in it, and they're very, very slight. His worry is that he's going to be measuring things with the resistors that are so small that even 6 digits aren't going to show. He told me today, I talked with him, that when he puts the clips on where he's trying to measure in these very simple circuits, is that what happens is the voltmeter, the last digit is going because it's a digital thing, until finally it settles down. So he's a little worried that the differences are super, super small, and that even 6 digits may not do it. But he is trying it, and that's quite amazing. So what do we have? We have a particle model. We give physicality to everything, to magnetic fields, to everything, to the way electricity works, to the way magnetic fields work, to the way that works within wires, why it slows down, why, and all those things. And then he's also described all the components in diodes, transistors, capacitors, resistors, those things, batteries, switches, those kinds of things. And we have a physical description, and believe it or not, current is not the holes left behind in electricity moving around. So that's quite a little bizarre. And in fact, that current I won't even get into that a little. My dad will explain that much better. Take a look at his channel. Do subscribe to it, so those people who are on this, who are watching this either live or recorded, you know, think about it. Go to particle.guru and take a look at it, especially some of the basic stuff. Quite interesting work. So my father is actually doing experimentation, so that is really, really cool. very happy about that. And man, nobody's got questions tonight. We're staying here. I'll just say hello to everybody. Hello. For those people who are not watching live, or people are live, just say hello. Do you have any questions if you are live? I know, like I said, I usually have 3 times the number of people, but I do appreciate all of you guys being here today. And if you are new to the channel, like I said, these have been pretty popular and the numbers have been growing. And because, of course, I didn't come on at 9 like is my usual time on Fridays, I'm sure a lot of people couldn't make it. But please do put in any questions you may have in there, as well as any comments, any suggestions. I know I'm owing some of these videos. I'm going to make one on the photon. It turns out that the idea of the photon is an impossibility. To give you the simplest answer to it, and this is something that I've come up with and it makes total sense, photons have to light has wavelength. It's got different colors. You can't get all these different colors that you're seeing even on your screen here by one particle. It's impossible. One particle can't come to you and it's blue. It can't be. So it has to be a plurality of particles. So to say that there is a photon, the only way you can say that is there's only one particle that is responsible only for light. It's not responsible for anything else. And because we don't have those kinds of things, you have the idea that light, the information for light, has to be either it's got to be lots of particles, because whether that's ether particles that are being bashed together and that we're getting waves in those, or we're getting waves in a lattice, or we're getting waves of particles like in our model, which are all traveling together, but you get them in bunches, and that bunches of them, and those waves of particles coming together and moving at around the speed of c, that's what makes light. So the idea of a photon, if you're ether, ether is not a photon. It's a ether particle. It's very different. If you're a lattice, you don't have a lattice made up of photons. You have a lattice made up of other stuff, and maybe light is waves through that lattice. That lattice actually does that. And of course, if you are in a particle model, the photon would be as if we only had it for the photon, but the truth of the matter is it's the same particle in our particle model for many things. And of course, that does not allow us to say that that's a photon. We call it a G1 particle, sort of started from a gravity idea, and actually it would be named whatever we want to name it, because but it's not a photon the way the photon is thought, because the photon is of course talked about, invented by Einstein. So like I said, I've been here about a half an hour. Right now I don't have anybody asking questions. People are just listening in, so again, I appreciate it, and I do apologize to everybody, because I know lots of my regular viewers aren't here tonight because of my tardiness, but that's okay. I'm really want to be consistent as I can, and also to interact. And I know sometimes I get people here today, and that's all right. There's not a whole lot of interaction, and that's cool. You don't have to interact. I try to talk about stuff, and I've got my new video, of course, I've got that just came out from about an article. I just did that today, actually, an article about my goodness, I'm even drawing a blank on that. What was the article I did today that, if you were watching the recording, was just the same day as I'm doing this live? It's about, oh my gosh, I am tired, dude. So I'm going to type in YouTube. If you want to get to my channel, you just type YouTube.Dissident Science.com, and we'll talk about it. What did I talk about today? I've had what, over 220 videos. So, oh, I do have some people, hey, they're unsubscribing because I know that they were probably wanting to listen. They came in and listened, like, oh, what's this guy talking about? But again, this is more for interaction, and if people aren't interacting, that's okay too, let's see what I talk about. Photon proton structure. That's what we talked about. I've talked about today. So you want to take a look at that photon structure. But anyways, I do like I said, allow people to send suggestions. I do look at comments oftentimes. I will do that as well. I know people will go through comments. I didn't prepare a whole lot today. A lot of times I do get enough information or enough stuff from my the regular subscribers who do come to my live sessions. So, but I do and have the ability to take a look at the comments to the channel. Let's see if I can maybe go to those and take a look at some of those comments. Oftentimes you can get a lot of interesting discussion from those comments from the channel. So YouTube does give us a great area where the comments come, and I can see a lot of times that people are just saying dumb things. I usually delete them. I have no problem with people criticizing anything or disagreeing, but of course it has to be a scientific discussion. Why you waste the time saying that's stupid, you're wrong, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, go learn physics. The truth of the matter, the people who are critical thinkers are actually people who think and know and have looked at mainstream science more than the mainstream themselves. Glad your channel is here. Good stuff. Oh, here's somebody new. It takes its gluons. I take it that gluons are named because the gluon to hold things together. Now, okay. Let me show you this. This is on one of my. It's actually my latest video for today. So let's take a look at these. I can add something and actually reply. Glad your channel is here. Good stuff. Good. So I'm sure he's she is a new subscriber. Thank you very much. Do that and like. And he says, or she says, it takes glue. I take it gluons are named after holds things together. Let's see. You are absolutely right. It is a very strange concept indeed, because how could a particle be glue? Of course, the whole thing comes down to the whole problem with gluons and quarks and all those things. They don't have anything, any idea what those things are. And let me get off here because I don't like to go browsing around with everybody watching me surf the web. So I'm going to go to Wikipedia and I'm going to show you guys quarks. And this is the problem, the physicality. I'm going to type in quarks here. Now I'm back to the browser. Whoops, there we go. Quarks. And I just want you to look at the number one and the top level. This is a quark for a proton. Right there. And this is what they're talking about in gluons. So this is a proton. Of course, if a proton's made out of quarks, I guess a quark is supposed to be the whole idea, for those who have not heard me say this, but the whole idea of quarks was simple. You had atoms, and we had everything broken down in atoms, and we had maybe 90 of them or 80 of them at the time. It's now over 100. And then we said, well, those things are made of smaller particles. We have electrons and protons and neutrons. So now we can describe all the atomic structures and those smaller structures. Well, now, oh wait, there must be one particle, so I'm going to call it a quark. They even made a name up that sounds quirky, like quirky, quark, and that was hypothesized in the 1960s. And but this is what we said. I guess they look spherical because these are circles, but they have that little shiny thing on it right there. You notice the U's there, and those are up quarks. The color are different. You have a down quark, so you have two different up quarks, and then you have gluons, and then these things are like, squiggly lines. It's completely bogus. This is absolutely bogus. They don't know what they are. They invented things before they found them. That's was the precedent was set by Einstein himself, who said these are the laws of the universe. I say it has to follow them, and then they go and they try to prove that those laws exist because I'm going to go looking for things. And so that's what the quarks and the gluons are, and that's what this person is talking about, because they're talking about the structure of quarks, of protons, which is made up of quarks and gluons. It's just, they don't know. They have no idea. Go take a look at that video right there. That's my video that I did. If you're looking at watching this as a recording, go back and take a look at it. Ken Behrendt, he has always got some really great comments. And yeah, he does. Look at that. He quite a bit. If I could find a way to weaken the inside directed force of a proton that is opposing and the outward pushing force, then it might be possible to construct some sort of ray gun that could interfere with the process. The gun would project a beam of energy or particles of some sort that would momentarily weaken the forces of the outer layers of protons and the nuclei of atoms that should then cause all the proton nuclei to explode. Goodbye, target. Hopefully one of these, and you know, but what he's talking about is like, okay, they're shooting electrons at that, and you know, of course, that's he's always got great stuff. Obviously, we have immediately begun directing massive amounts of American taxpayer money toward the construction of the world's most powerful supercollider, even if it requires raising taxes of the bottom 99%. I agree. This is just, it's such a waste of money. It's quite terrible that they're doing this. Thanks for the video, Dave, and the link. Okay, cool. That's cool. Another nothingness coming out of the computer simulation that they call an experiment. Pretty much. What's really sad is that they're actually doing an experiment, and that what they're doing is they're shooting electrons at hydrogen, I believe. I think it's hydrogen, not helium, but hydrogen, which is the simplest atom, of course. And what they're trying to do is then they're going to see the scattering of that. And if you see the scattering, well, what do you see, and what does that mean? Of course, they're saying that, well, we have quarks, so what we're really doing is we're seeing the interior of a. And go watch it. That's why I make these videos. It's funny, they use hypothetical neutron star density to describe another hypothetical. Absolutely, I love that. Couldn't say it better myself. Very good. Says indoctrinated intellectuals. Yeah, intellectuals, for those who don't know, I do make a distinction between intellectual and critical thinking. Intellectuals are social beings who want to perceive to be smart. They want to be perceived to be up on the latest news. They also want to make you feel bad. I've got an article on Science Woke about this all, and that's why I call it intellectual. It is, to me, a very degrading name, in my opinion, because I use it that way. And those people are like, oh, I'm smart, you are not. The reason you don't understand is you haven't been to college. If you go to college and you still say you don't understand, how do you say things against what it and say, I think this is wrong, this is why I think. This is, you still just have to learn it. That's your problem. So space is dimensionless. What is in space is 3 dimensions. Real world example: put a water balloon in a big vacuum chamber. You will see that you can do it. Kaboom! Empty the vacuum chamber. When the water kaboom, it tries to fill the vacuum. Exactly like space. Space is dimensionless. So no dimensional limit. And water or mercury is very dense and very 3D. Nothing ought to be refined with capability between 3D and 3D. Is there a question there? Oh my gosh, it's long. What is the capability delta between 3D and 0D? Well, the assumptions, here another one. Assumptions are threaded as a fact when they can't even can be considered fringe postulate. Yeah, I mean, this is some criticisms of those people. Here's a guy who was talking about the geological book. Says, I'm very happy to have received this from Dr. Maxwell last week, or that is super great. Thanks for covering it. I'm still getting through it. Now, James Maxwell said, thank you very much. But Dave, hey, you got to redo that whole video because it's got to be more geological, and you should be, learn those terms correctly. I wrote him back and I said, Jim, I'm not a geologist, obviously. I do read the books. I understand a lot of it because he's got the glossary in the back when I do read them. But my idea is just to, I have very little time to get out there, put together, go through the book, pick up some things that I think are very important. I think a lot of times dissident scientists want me to explain their theory in a convincing way so that people are convinced by it. I am more giving an overview of some very interesting points, and I want you to get the book and read it yourself. For me to go through and tell you the answers, not what I'd like to do. If I may add some information to the discussion on Earth's history, for this I wrote to point out geological features. Okay, here's a person that does know a little bit more about geology and has talked. So that's really great. I tell you, I have yawns tonight. Wow, I did read all that. It was very interesting, but it's very specific about things that this person has written in the area of expansion tectonics. So do appreciate all those things for my subscribers. Take a look at them. Thank you for this. I just wish there was some way of ordering the book. Yeah, me too. This was all in the book. So anyways, those are some of the great things. And again, I don't know if I talked about quarks specifically, but it is quite sad, elementary particle and fundamental constituent of matter, until they find something else that's made up of even smaller things. Again, thank you so much for coming by. I'm coming up in an hour. I'm going to probably keep this to an hour, so I got 15 minutes. If you've got any questions or comments or whatever, please type them in. I know that people are probably coming in and out. Well, they are coming in and out because I see the numbers going up and down. And again, I apologize, everybody, if you are regular with me, that I do have usually a lot more people. They're a lot more talkative because they've been around a little bit. They just want to listen to what I'm doing, what I'm saying, that kind of thing. But I do spend quite a bit of my time working on things that have to do with critical thinkers. And let me tell you about the philosophy that I have on the website of Science Woke. I do want to put that out, and I actually just put that because of the talk that I gave last week, where I had really a topic I talked about in the last hour. But I'm going to take a look at that and get that hopefully coming up. It's coming up. It takes some time with the OBS running and everything. But I'm going to look at the About. So let's go to the browser here now and go to the About. That talks about Science Woke. And it says something here that I think is very important. It says, unlike other magazines, this magazine supports all the views of its authors. And the reason I put that is because they always say, well, here's what we would want to normally do. If we were like, even some people like our CMPS, well, no, we don't subscribe. Any of these models that we are presenting, like Jeff Yee's model, or the particle model by David and Robert D. Hilster, or anybody else, their models, the lattice models, all the ether models, quite a few ether models, we don't support them. These are the view of the authors, so please do not think that we have these crazy ideas. No, we support everybody. We think everybody's attempts at our models is absolutely important. This is a free universe. You can come up with anything you want. This is really important. In fact, I do want to make a video on that itself, just the philosophy of that. Why is that important? Why do we say that we support everyone? Is because we have the right as human beings to do what we want and think what we want, as long as not we're harming anybody else. Of course, if we're spending billions of dollars making things up that we know that most of 98% of physicists aren't buying. For those who don't know, who are new to this channel, this is a fact. 98, 99% or more of the physicists on the planet are not buying this funky cosmology, but big cosmology and big physics, especially particle physics. People just run away from that. We actually have, again, that one lady who actually ran away from being a particle physicist because people are falling in love with their math. But the whole idea is that we should be trying every model we can. We should not restrict anybody. Any student who's coming into physics, they want to come up with their own model of the universe, more power to them, and we should help them. But no, we say, no, that's not the way physics works. I know there are people who are YouTubers that have their channel that vehemently disagree with that notion that there's only one truth in the universe. Well, no, there isn't any truth in the universe. The universe doesn't work with truths. It just is, and it does its thing, and we try to come up with some models that model it. We have tried to come up with equations that are useful so that we can predict it or use it or manipulate it like we do. Everything. We have my glasses, and the glasses have, the ability for making light change so that it hits the back of my eye correctly. There's all kinds of stuff, and that's what these models are. And so we should be, as the human race, allowing for everybody to come up with whatever model they want. People be weeded out if it's crazy, and everybody thinks it's crazy. It's crazy. I tell you, I don't know what's going on. I have yawned probably about 8 times tonight. So anyways, I think that's really, really important thing to for everybody to understand, is that it's a philosophy I am trying to spread around, and that is, no, we have to get away from the idea. Why? Because if you think you have a better model and can make a better model, do it. If you're a programmer in college and you can make a better app, people say do it, and the professors say do it. But you hear people who saying, well, I have a better model of the universe. Oh, you can't do that. We found truths. We really do think that other intellectual beings in the universe are going to come up with E equals mc squared, for instance. They're not. They may never come up with that, because it's truly, it's not useless, but it is useless until you have a model, and then you can describe what that really would mean. Then come back and talk with me. But right now, E equals mc squared. What's energy? Energy is a concept. So what does that mean? Mass. How do you measure mass? Well, if you measure mass of an electron, it's going to be different from measuring the mass of a G2 particle, which is what causes the strong force between nucleons in our model. So again, get a model. That model should be able to explain lots of stuff. If it doesn't, then... But we need to support them all. So when I get books and books and books of right over here. All these books here, books in the back there. These are books that people even send me, and there are different models and different ideas. More power to all of us. And eventually, what's going to happen, one of these models is going to do very well. It's going to do some great predictions, and they're going to take off, and people are going to subscribe to that model. And then somebody else is going to find a better model, or they'll improve that model. So you got to get away from that. It's really dumb. Alrighty, folks. Coming up on an hour. We got 7 minutes left. What else am I going to say? I do have some more videos planned. I will be back next week. Hopefully there will not be interruption. I guess it'll be in March already. My goodness, February is almost gone. So about the 2019.naturalphilosophy.org. Philosophy.org. Where do we show up every year? Well, we do a East Coast or West Coast conference. We'll take a look at that right now. And if you type in the 2019.naturalphilosophy.org, you're going to come to this page. And we have our annual conference. It's going to be held at the University of Seattle. I believe we can sort of hear this. Let's see if we can hear this. I can always mute it too, but this is sort of, there we go, the CMPS, University of Washington, near Seattle. That's a picture from it. Pretty darn cool. That allows, you can go there, 2019.naturalphilosophy.org. It's a great experience going to those conferences. It's just a wonderful time. Let's see, here's the poster for it. There it is. And Becoming Science Woke is our theme. We'll have our website up and already running. And of course, we have Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Jared Pollock, who is from the University of Washington. Fourth state of water, and of course, scientific activism. Believe it or not, he found a fourth state of water, H3O2, and basically they form these hexagonal sheets. Let's see if I can find those. Fourth state of water. I'll go ahead and do that. Let's see. Fourth state of water, and we should be able to see images of that, probably should do a talk on that in my I think it says one of the recommendations of, there it is, easy water. Let's go to images, take a look at it. But he discovered this fourth phase of water. Come on, there we go. Take a look at this. Gotta keep, come on up. That's why I don't like doing this. This is why I don't like doing this online, so you watch it, because sometimes they don't even come up. So let's just take a look at this. This is fine. You can see one up here, but this is H2O. So H2O, you see the oxygen in the middle and then hydrogen on both sides, but then they form these sheets. This is the things that the meniscus that you see, meniscus. I will spell it wrong probably. Meniscus. No, there we go. Water. And we'll take a look at that. And that's what you see there, right there. See that meniscus? Can you actually float things on it? That is the fourth state of water, which they call easy water, which is H3O2, which forms into hexagonal sheets. And that's on the surface, and it turns out to be very important for life and all that stuff. And he's getting his Lifetime Achievement Award from us for that. And believe it or not, this is controversial. How could this be controversial? Controversial to me is the Big Bang's wrong. Controversial to me is throw out all particle physics since 1930. Controversial to me is saying relativity is wrong, special and general relativity. Controversial to me is to say black holes, the way we think of them, are completely wrong. Controversial to me is say, no, we have a whole new model of the universe. But no, this guy somehow ended up ruffling feathers with stuff that was basically almost provable. So anyways, it's definitely worth it. He's going to be talking at our conference. He's given a few talks at our conferences before, but it's just going to be a great time. In fact, there are people coming just because of him there. It's cheap to go to the conference. I think it's $100 for the whole registration. Again, it pays for it. You know, our idea, we make more money off of our book than anything else. Our proceedings, and the proceedings are, you pay per page, and allows you to publish in our proceedings. These are 2016 proceedings right here. You can see, and we have the all the technical papers that come in here. So it's really quite good. A tome, so if you are a person that is writing something that isn't being accepted by mainstream, we put it in there. And we also have, a lot of times we'll put those available if the author wants them. We'll put them in our wiki. We have a translator from the LaTeX format into the wiki format, and so you can actually go and see that if you go to wiki.naturalphilosophy.org, which I just typed in there. When you get there, you can see scientific papers, full papers. I'll just click on those. These are some of the full papers. We have just slowly started to put them in. Some of them, like Earth expansion, problems solved. And you can see here, oops, there's some graphics that are missing. We've got to fix that. If you want to help with us, that's great. Newton's gravitational over dark matter. This is a really great one by Cameron Rigbasol, and it talks about how you can describe why you don't need dark matter, and that actually Newton explains. It's a little more technical, yeah, but we have those papers, and some of them are much simpler to understand, so don't be turned off by that. But anyways, it is a really great conference. You want to think about going. And so that's pretty much it for, I'm doing this for an hour. I see that people are not asking questions, and that is totally fine. And those people who are watching this, I do apologize too, because normally we have a lot more discussion, a lot more back and forth and banter. That's what this is for and about. I'll be here next week at 9 p.m. and hopefully I won't have anything get in the way of that. And when I do, we'll have, I'm sure, more people here. But the people that are popping in and out, I thank you so much for subscribing, and thank you for watching my videos. It's greatly appreciated. It is growing, and like I said, we have some things coming up that will even make it even grow more. I have some people in the progressive political movement that I know that once I get the science woke up, I have a new website that will hopefully turn on the faucets to tens of thousands of people to come this way, and we're going to educate those people whose eyes are wide open politically, environmentally, also economically, realizing we people are being screwed over. Our capitalistic society has gone amok, and that we need to rein it in a little bit. Yeah, if you give the world something great, you should be rewarded for that. But of course, it doesn't mean that. Oh, look at my microphone. It picks up. My voice is usually pretty strong, but it was like push the button and get it muted. I am all over the place here, but I do watch that stuff because I started my whole live once completely without a microphone. So, oh, here we go. Do you know about the Younger Dryas impact theory? Someone asked me about that. I think you asked me about that, didn't you, before? Younger Dryas impact theory. I don't know that. Let me take a look here. I'll show you. So I got a question that's good. The Younger Dryas impact theory is a Clovis comet hypothesis originally proposed that a large airburst of Earth impact or one or more comets initiated the Younger Dryas cold period about 12,000 BC calibrated years ago. The has been contested by research as recently as 2000, arguing that most of the conclusion cannot be repeated by other scientists and criticized because of misinterpretation of data previously and lack of confirmation. The current impact hypothesis states that airbursts or impacts of a swarm of comets fragments set across North America continent on fire, causing extinction of most of the megafauna and the demise of the American cloves. Okay, the Younger Ice Age lasted for about 1,200 years before the climate warmed again. You know, all I would say is this: these people have to be given absolutely should be given a chance. We have no problems of accepting anything at our conference about these kinds of things, as long as the idea is science. If you're trying to, for instance, what we don't allow in our society, conspiracy theories. We had one lady who wanted to give a paper on the demolition of the World Trade Center, and I asked her, does this have to do with anybody saying that it was a demolition for something else? Because we're not interested in proving or disproving that. We're interested in physics. And people say, well, why don't you allow it for everything? Well, maybe eventually we will, but right now we have such bigger problems like, hey, real world, get used to the idea that relativity is wrong. Get used to the idea that Big Bang is wrong, and we have to look at different alternatives. So, yeah, I mean, I understand. I was taught in school about what the Ice Age, that it was supposedly, who knows why, a shift in the Earth. We don't know. The truth of the matter is we don't really know. And so the evidence, what does it say for evidence? Given by proponents, the impact event includes black mats of organic rich soil that have been found some 50 Clovis sites across the continent. Proponents propose that the nutrition. I mean, yeah, it's a hypothesis, and should it be looked at? Absolutely. Are there different explanations? Look, the way I would look at it is this: the expansion tectonics. We know that the Earth has been expanding, so it was much smaller, and it's growing. And with that, there's all kinds of things that we don't know. What's causing a mass increase in the Earth? Is it truly like most people thinking today? The mainstream of outside the mainstream, the more consensus kind of ideas is that the Earth is gaining mass because protons, or the nucleuses of atoms, and the electrons are recombining in the Earth, being spouted off by the sun. And actually other suns do this too, the whole universe. And so that those are expanding. Now, we don't even know about what's going on there. So this whole thing about the historical reconstructed geology and all that, we have a lot to learn. So is this something that could have happened? Absolutely. Absolutely could have happened. I haven't personally looked into it. So the way I always say, stay critical, stay thinking. Take a look at it. Make your own mind. But from what I can see, I'm not seeing any major, flags about that. Howdy from Idaho, Dave. So one of the things that bugs me about the standard model of Earth's magnetosphere is how it's supposed to be generated by churning masses of molten iron. Yes, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, look. The way I look at it, Krista, the way I look at it is, we don't even have a physical model for magnetism. So how do we know that that's what's happening? We do know that there is a direct. We know that's a fact. If there's anything that's a fact, it's very certain that metal is very special when it comes to electric flow, electrons, or current, or electricity, or magnetic fields. It does. But why is it generating? I agree with you. We can pretty much, until someone says, okay, the model I'm using is ether, therefore this is what's happening. Oh no, my model is the particle model by D. Hilster and D. Hilster. So this is what I think is happening, and this is my prediction of what's really going on. So absolutely. Krista, yeah, Krista. I know who you are. Thanks for coming by. But iron loses magnetism at high temperatures. So what does the particle guru say about this? Personally, I think the Earth is something like a giant Faraday motor. I mean, there's a bunch of things that are going on. And again, it depends on the model. you know, we have G1 particles in our model that again, I'm only speaking about our model because we know more about it. Myself, I know more about it. In Jeff Yee, they have a model. Everybody has different models. So, here's the way I look at it. This is really bizarre. You want to hear bizarre stuff? Look at all the things that we know are going at the speed of light, that we have evidence for the speed of light. Electricity, close to the speed of light. Gravity, believe it or not, mainstream has measured that. Wang experiment, as we don't look at the speed of gravity very much, but the mainstream and the Wang eclipse during a total eclipse shows us C. We have light at C. Gravity, light, electricity, magnetic fields we get from Yonel Deneu, that these whirling of particles set up fields. So if the Earth is setting up particles going around this way or around this way, which way it is, it's setting it up in a pretty general. I will say this, Krista, the magnetic field is it's a little wonky. It's not real uniform. And in fact, I think if we could really measure it eventually, we'll find out it's pretty screwed up. It's not like the thing that we draw. It's not so wonderful as that. But it is enough that we do get this general flow. But why would G1 particles, or whatever particles, or etherists, if you're etherist, why those particles? Why they're flowing? What's causing them to flow? Absolutely. What normally is set up is it's because of metal, and metal will funnel it that way. But if we have a dynamic core and it's moving, what is that? How does that work? And that's a good question. You know, we have to use our particle model to figure out, well, what's really going on there? Oh. You're saying, let's see. Yeah, you're saying, but it loses its magnetism. Yeah. A giant Faraday, well, yeah. Krista, what I would say to you is, well, look at a model. Look at the particle model that my father and I are doing, for instance, and hack with that. Here's the model. We say that you have nucleons, and basically you have electrons, and they're going. So what we're really, if you want to call it that, what we have magnetic fields are electrons themselves. You have electrons going through circuits, but they're also going around batteries. This right here. You can measure the magnetic field around this battery as if it was a magnet. And to me, you can't have stuff like that in the universe and call it nothing. It's got to be something. If it's something, it's got mass. So take that and what we do. So I agree, Krista, that's an actually great question for the new models that we have. How does Jeff Yee, how would he do that? How would, I don't think he has magnetic fields though in his model. So how would we in a particle model? At my father, Krista. Ask my father. Send him an email. Send it to robert@dhilster.com or bob@dhilster.com. Or you can send it to bob@particle.guru. I believe he'll also get it. So absolutely fascinating. But yeah, folks, absolutely possible. I have very good friends in science for many years, and they're creationists. I am not. I believe the universe is infinitely old. I don't believe there's a God that He's created it, but that's a perfectly legit idea and assumption about the world. But they do great science. I don't care about what they say. I don't care. And they actually look at the carbon dating. Is carbon dating correct? If you want, it's called the dating game. I think that's what it's called. Let me look it up. I'm going to get offline because I don't like doing this. The dating game. I believe it's what it's called. It's a dating rocks. All right. But yeah, radioactive dating game. There is I think that's what it's called. Thompson. Is it Thompson? So yeah, I see. That's why I don't want to show you. I'm going to go to Amazon and try to find it. But there is a book I read a while back, because when I was learning about expansion tectonics, I wanted to find out how do they date rocks. and how accurate it is, how much do they really know. So dating game, geology, I wonder if that's yeah, I think it is. Let's see here. Hold on. There we go. There we go. I found it. I will show it to you. I'll click on it. Maybe I can see it better. There we go. Lewis. Yeah, it was Lewis. So, the dating game. One man's search for the age of the Earth. In this book, Cherry Lewis skillfully blends the history of gauging the age of the Earth with biology of British geologists, while it deeply is unfashionable to do so in the early 20th century. He spent many years trying to prove great antiquity of Earth. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought the Earth wasn't really that old, and this wasn't too long ago. So it was more or less what happens with the age of the universe and the Earth. You have people, they thought the age of the Earth and universe was millions of years old, then billions. It took a while. We didn't even know galaxy existed for quite a while. So, you know, that's, you know, read this stuff, folks. Get it yourself. Try to understand it. When you have a question, don't, you know, that's a good book. I've got to find if I've got that around. If not, maybe I should take a look at that again, or if it's unlimited for ebooks. Does it have an ebook? Yeah, let's see. What's it say? Send for a free sample. It's $9.99, the Kindle edition. Printed access code. What? Paperback. Oh, it's $13. You know, it's, you know, sometimes it's cheaper to buy the actual physical book. Can you believe that? But you can't search on those. That's what's bad about it. But you know, the aging game, and then the idea is that, well, look, I have friends who are trying to prove, you know, things are much younger. Go at it. If you can show it, and I'm not saying they're like being sophisticated. If you can show it, yeah, you're not going to. No. We got to get rid of this attitude. I mean, we are Nazis even on the liberal side. I'm a liberal person, progressive, and we say, you don't believe in global warming, you don't believe in science. You don't believe in science at all. And that's what we hear in even progressive candidates that I like. And that's one of the new channels I want to do, is because, look, let everybody have their say. Believe it or not, 1/3 of all research, you can throw it out. They change the data to fit what they are talking about. This is called, it's in my movie, EinsteinWrong.com. It's called, there was a study by the University of Michigan. It was called Scientific Misbehavior. And misbehavior, 1/3, and this was anonymous, 1/3 of all scientists admit to manipulating data to fit what their hypothesis was. So if you are like into climate change and you're like a liberal person, and you want to say, okay, I'm now going to write a paper about it, and I want to get my doctoral thesis on it, and you know, of course, you're not going to write that it's wrong, or you're not going to write that maybe what we think is happening really isn't happening. Well, you're not going to go very far, so they'll do it, and then what they proposed doesn't work, but they want it to work because, you know, it's and then they just fudge the data. So we have to stop being science Nazis and thinking that everybody, if they're a creationist, for instance, or if they are a person that doesn't believe global warming is really happening, all these things, we cannot be science Nazis and tell those people are idiots. They have the right to come to us with the thing in their hand saying that this is a bogus study. And there are a lot of bogus studies showing global warming that are not good. But there are ones that show global warming, and they seem to be good. But that is a debate that should always be open, always. So I'm going to get in trouble with that with some of my progressive friends, but I don't care, because we should, and that's why I'm going to be doing this new channel, so I can start teaching people about that. Okay, folks. My goodness, it's about an hour and 20 minutes. There he is. Is science like history, lies agreed upon? Yeah, pretty much. Let's see, Thomas. What it is I call it capitulation. Here's the story I give. If you haven't heard this, if you've heard this story, you can fall asleep. If not, it's a story that I've told many times. Here's the way it works. You are in Physics 101 in any university on the planet, right? You have two students. One's an engineering student. One's a person that wants to do things practical in the world, doesn't want to just do things that don't do anything. And another person who says, I don't know what I want to do. I'm just a smart person. I think I'm a smart person. I just want to, be considered smart, be smart, study things, be smart, that kind of thing. So you go into a class that teaches special relativity. Special relativity, for those people who don't know, predicts that as you get close to the speed of light, mass increases, time slows down, and length contracts. So things get squashed, time goes slower, and your mass gets bigger. Well, the guy who's a practical guy, the person who's like more going to be an engineer, they go, teacher, why does mass get bigger? Tell me what the mechanism for that is. Well, the person says, well, there is no mechanism needed. Those are the laws of the universe. Einstein has showed that special relativity is shown to be proven, and they don't give an answer. And then the person next to him looks at it, of course, Einstein didn't you know that? Here are the experiments that prove special relativity, which I challenge anybody, I'm off track here, and challenge anybody to look up special relativity and find proof for it. There's one page, maybe one page on the whole internet, and Einstein and relativity are worshipped as gods. You can't even find proof of it. But anyways, off track. So you have the two students, and one student wants to be a physicist, a particle physicist. The other student wants to go into physics, but is really disillusioned by all this by saying, wait a minute, you're not giving me an answer why there's, well, maybe you're hitting a wind or something, or an ether to make it contract. Maybe the mass is getting bigger because I'm like bugs collecting bugs on a windshield. Give me a reason. I don't want just to tell me that, and he doesn't give a reason. They all take the tests on special relativity. So the guy who's an engineering student learns to pair it and learns to give the answers that are needed to do the calculations, to even maybe solve a problem with it because he's got a logical mind, but doesn't believe anything. And he says, I am not going to be a particle physicist. That's 99% of all the people that sit in these classes. They think of it as crazy. And they're right, it's crazy. Then there's that 1% or one less or 1.001% who become particle physicists, and they go, oh, I'm going to be a particle physicist. Yeah, I buy this stuff. It isn't the case that they understand it. That's what they say. So when they explain it and the professor tries to explain it and convince the engineer, never gets convinced, because there is no way to convince somebody of something that's illogical without an explanation. That's just, here's the law of the universe and you must follow it. And if it doesn't make sense to you and it has no physical, too bad. And so the person, the engineer says, I'm out of here, leaves, never comes back. What about the student who wants to be the particle physicist? He does what? He capitulates. He capitulates. What does capitulate mean? It means he accepts it. It's not that he believes it. It's not that he's even been convinced. He just now says, okay, I'm a believer. I can repeat this. I can tell you all the arguments. And if someone asks me if it's right or wrong, I'll tell them it's right. I believe it's right. And then I get patted on my head by the professor or whatever, or the people at the particle accelerators. And then I can get my job. I can then write my papers and hope for the Nobel Prize, inventing a new particle that doesn't exist, but earning the respect of everybody but people who are critical thinkers. Intellectuals. Intellectuals are the people who says, ho, 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 ho. Don't you know the latest of this? Ho, 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 ho. So yeah, physics is full of that. And to give you one more example, Thorstein, one more example. The people who go into particle physics, the people who do capitulate, are not the brightest candles in the bunch. I'm sorry. And they are, oh boy, that's not politically correct. But it's true. It's sort of like politicians. It's exactly like politicians. Like I said, I haven't made that video, but I'm going to make it. Particle physicists are just like politicians. They're the ones who capitulate. They get into the game. They like playing the game. They like being smart. They like having the power. They don't care if it's right or wrong. They don't care at all. And they're going to make you feel bad because you don't have a super brain like they do. You're not at the university and you're talking all this gibberish, which they say, of course it makes sense. And the guy next to him says it makes sense. It's not making sense to them. What makes sense to them is that they agree that it makes sense. That's what it is. And it's not like, we know it's all wrong, but we're going to go fool everybody. No, they're convincing themselves. People convince themselves all the time that eating meat is healthy. It isn't. Not for the human beings. It isn't. We have study after study. Go to nutritionfacts.org. That's why I'm on a plant-based diet, and that's why my heart disease is gone. I've reversed it. Because meat, dairy, oil, it's bad for you. But you can convince yourself of anything. You can convince yourself, no, Dave, oil, pure oil, coconut oil is good, when the tests show it is not. And the people who sell oil make tests that are bogus tests and then say, oh, this study says it, but when you look at the study, it's full of holes. That's the same thing that happens in physics. It's no different. That's why I want to be the science progressive. That's why I'm going to do that in the future, so that we can get people understanding that the same things that happen in politics, the same things that happen in economics, the same thing that happens with health, all of those things happen in big science. So yeah, absolutely true. Well, man, I've got more people here. It's like I came in at 10. It's like 11:30 here on the East Coast. So thank you so much for coming by. If you have any questions, stuff them in there. Been some really great questions by some of the people. I did start late. I apologize. So most of the people coming in, if you're new, I do this on Fridays, and it comes out to be quite good because we have really good discussions and questions. One of the things you're going to get from me is, hey, Dave, is this theory right? Or is this okay? What do you think about this? My answer is, I'll take a look at it and give you my opinion about it. But anybody who's trying to do something and prove something, I will tell you. For instance, somebody says, no, Dave, plate tectonics is right, and here's why. There's certain things that you can't change my mind anymore. Expansion tectonics, for instance, the Earth's expanding. It's just a fact, in my opinion. The evidence is ridiculously overwhelming. So, I mean, there are certain things that, yeah, I do believe. We know for sure that energy is a concept that's not real. That's one of the things, if you're new to this channel, that you may not know. Okay, here's Thurston again. I found this channel costs. I wanted to see someone to put Neil deGrasse Tyson in his place where he belongs, and I found you. High five. I got to do another one on him. I did one. If you look up, oh, it's my third biggest video. I don't even. Neil deGrasse Tyson, I've gotten to several places. So thank you so much. I'm not the only one who thinks that. So it's not like I'm like the first to think about it, but I may be one of the first people to go up against him and really put him to the test. But absolutely. Let me go show you. It's one of my most popular videos. It's the one where someone actually asked him, do you think Einstein could be wrong? And you know what his answer was? No kidding. The first thing that came out of his mouth? Laughing. Now, if you were a scientist, you can never say never. And you should never say never. There are always theories. Nothing is ever written in stone. But that's what he did. Let's see here. Yep, there it is. It's my fourth most popular video. Let's take a look at it since I can show you the browser here. Here's my first one, which is Albert Einstein, rest in peace. For those of you who want to know why it's almost to 10,000 on its own, is because there's a link from Reddit and people. This one I get 2/3 out of thirds. 2/3 are thumbs up and 1/3 thumbs down. So no one. It's a 3 to 5 ratio, I think it is. But there's Einstein wrong. NASA proves that's 2.7. And here it is. And this is the one, Neil Tyson's Arrogance Incarnate. Go to my website, watch it. It's an earlier video. I was still new doing this, but it's still very good. I was very expressive, but I should probably do another one on him. Also, for those people, I'll go offline here. Let me go get Science Woke, the website that's coming out, and I do have that. I actually wrote a very controversial, people thought, I will tell you, Thornton, I will tell you a story that got me in trouble, actually, with some people. I almost tripped Neil deGrasse Tyson. Tripped him. This is a funny story. For those people who are staying around here, listen to this story. When I was making my documentary film, I was a member of the Documentary Film Association, the International Documentary Association, IDA. I lived in LA, so it was easy to go to because they had all their, every year they had it in LA, so it cost me nothing to drive down there. And you got to meet Michael Moore and all those people. Also Al Gore when he was big for the climate change stuff and all that. And this is a small, squirrely little group of people who I call them a lot of intellectuals. And I was hanging out with them because I was making my film Einstein Wrong. Well, there was one year they had Neil deGrasse Tyson as one of the speakers. He was sitting behind me, and when I walked down the aisle, I was with my wife, and I was on the aisle. And Neil deGrasse was behind me. And I turned to my wife and said, when Neil deGrasse comes by, I'm going to trip him. Because who would know? Because you could just stick around. I'm a tall guy. I'm like sitting on the edge. Who knows that I just stuck out my foot at that time and he tripped and fell. I said, I'm going to do this for every critical thinker on the planet because I can tell the story that I tripped Neil deGrasse Tyson right on his face, and I would feel like some payback. And I was telling my wife, I'm going to trip him. I'm going to trip him. And they were talking about it. And then they announced and he's coming down. I'm going to trip. And she grabbed my arm and almost squeezed it off. And I said, okay. Because my wife was there. I'm not going to trip him. I wrote an article about that. And I had people really get upset with it. I should probably bring that article back because now we have people who are not as worried about those kinds of things. But here we go. In fact, this is from the article. Let me show you. This is from the article, Wanted Physical Evangelists. And I have them like standing. Michio Kaku, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye the Science Guy. I have them like in a lineup. It says Wanted Physical Evangelists. And I say, consider them armed and dangerous. And I actually have this article I am writing. It says, it used to be that journalism was based on unbiased investigative reporting that above all would stick to the facts and present both sides of the story. But as we have become woke to the ways of journalism done today around the globe, we are now confronted not with journalism, but with readers or mouthpieces of news. Stories are carefully chosen to fit a narrative, blah, 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 and fit the airways. It is no different in big science. Whoa. So, yeah, man, it is absolutely great. Thank you so much, Thorsten. Am I saying that right? Thorstein. So sorry about that. Pronouncing it probably incorrectly. I found the channel. Yeah, okay, the grass. I found you. Cool. It's a reason they call it a theory. Absolutely. We have to continuously say that. We should say the Big Bang Theory. Or scientists believe in the Big Bang, that the Big Bang happened. And they don't say that. Now, when you read it, if you go to and click onto my website that has all, the playlists. In my playlist, I have bunches and bunches of videos over articles, and you'll see there that I criticize all the time people who don't use the words that this is theory, this is conjecture, these are ideas, but they're not written in stone. You don't hear that now. You hear journalists just say, well, these are facts, and ha ha ha, these people, it's quite amazing how bad that's become. So anyways, fun stuff. Well, that's very encouraging. Thank you so much. I did actually, taking a look at that. Let me take a look at this. We'll go back to the browser here. Let me show it. Make sure the off is off there. But you can see, oh, I didn't even have good lighting. Look at that. I'll show you. And there he is, taking a look at it. Look at that. I don't have good lighting. Look at the lighting. Got a little better lighting. No lighting in the back. Goes to show you, I'm learning this stuff. But the good thing is I'm still talking the same way I did before, sort of like Bernie Sanders. I've been this way for 20 years, saying the same kind of things. But you notice here we have 96 likes and 45 dislikes. So these are obviously the lovers. I don't mean by that the followers of Neil deGrasse Tyson. But we are winning. We are winning that war, and 47 comments. I'm sure if I go through those, I probably get pretty ticked at them. But if you want to look at the one that's the closest, the one that I have the most amount of thumbs down on, even though thumbs down up is still winning, is why special relativity is wrong. It was one of the very early ones. I was learning my style of talking. This was actually done in my wife's store because I was watching it. My wife is a clothes designer. She's from Brazil. Almost 10,000 views. When I do that, I'll make a celebration. We have 149, about 150 thumbs up and 100 down. So if you do that in 50s, that's for every 5, 3 have thumbs up and every 2 have thumbs down, and it's got 200 comments. So this one is really, and the reason this is because it's on Reddit. And those are people, Thornstein, if you want to help me out, go to Reddit and put some more links to my channel. That really brings people my way. It brings a lot of haters too, but that's okay because I'm not interested in those. I'm interested in those people who are actually interested in becoming critical thinkers. So that's pretty cool. All right, got more people joining. Thanks for joining up. I'm a little late. I started at 10 o'clock. We've had some really good discussions and really good questions. If you have a question is specifically about a specific theory or specific thing of science, I am open. The thing that people do like about answers that I give and we give, I call it we, the people who are critical thinkers outside the mainstream for many decades, is we give you answers that are not baloney, BS. We give you answers when we tell you when we don't know. We tell you it's because most of the time because we don't have a model for that. When we say we know light, we do not. The mainstream has no idea what light is. They have no idea what gravity. They have no idea what magnetic fields are. The Big Bang's wrong. Particle physics, most of it should be thrown out. The black holes are very dense objects, but they're not as people seem. Relativity does not work, both general and special. We have instances. We don't say that by lightly. So, anyways, that's why this channel exists, Critical Thinkers. And believe it or not, again, I will repeat that the physicists who are real physicists and do things every day in their jobs and want to do great things for the world and actually use physics for the betterment of the world, for our morality, 99.9% of those people aren't buying particle physics. All the things that we laymen read, they don't buy it. But they don't say anything about it because then they think they look stupid, and then in their universities and everybody else, all the intellectuals out there, we'll call them stupid, sort of like the same way in politics where the people are following people who are pulling, taking advantage of all of us, and then they tell certain people, no, we don't do that. The CIA doesn't do that. The FBI doesn't do that. We don't have disinformation. Of course we know that. Even Obama from the United States said we do that. And then there are people who say, no, they said they didn't, so I believe them. Well, we got to stop believing them, and that's what this channel is about. So again, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, that's why I'm here. Thank you again, but I'm going to be stopping. If I do not have any more comments, it's getting late here. It's getting close to midnight. Do tell other people about this channel. If you have something, send an email to david@dissidentscience.com or david@thehilster.com, my name, and I'll be happy to look and do a video on something that maybe I haven't done that you would really want to see. But again, the idea of these live sessions is for you to be able to interact with me, ask me a question, then I make an answer. Then if it's not satisfactory, then you would come back and say, okay, can you tell me maybe what a clarification of something, or come back with your idea. That's the idea. So wow, people jumping in, folks. What I've been talking a lot about today is the idea that I have come to the conclusion that we should support all these hypotheses, all these models that people are trying to come up with. Because right now it's an open book. For 450 years, since Newton, we really have not made any strides in the model, except for the atomic structures in the atoms. We have done that. But other than that, we have no idea. Newton was still trying to find out what light and gravity was. They had ultra mundane corpuscles for gravity, and they had luminiferous ether, which means ether like the air we have, but it's for light. And so far, we still don't have a satisfactory answer to either one of those, even though that mainstream says something. So, you know, my feeling and goal is we should support everybody's new models that people are writing books about. A lot of people are getting together like we do every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon p.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. West Coast time in the United States. We do have a online forum which uses Fuse, which allows up to 8, 10, 12 video feeds, but also audio feeds. We usually have a couple dozen people there, and they have a person that presents and they talk just like this, but it's more much more formal. You want to check that out. So that's it. Okay, folks, I see that people are bumping in and out, but I'm not getting any more questions. I know it takes a little bit of time, so about maybe 10 seconds to 15 to 20 second delay. I watch this, I do this like that, and then I look over to my phone to see when that comes up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You see that I still haven't, so there's a delay. 13, 15, 16. So that delay is literally like still not there. Oh my gosh, it's like a 30-second delay. So if you have any questions, I will give you this time to type them in at the bottom. Yep, there it is, 35-second delay. So anyways, while I'm talking to you and I said, hey, do you have any questions? And I look over my phone, it takes 35 seconds for that thing to get there. So if you do have your questions before I go off the air, please type them in now. Type in any comments that you have before I go off air here. It's been an hour and 40 minutes. Been some pretty stimulating questions. I know people are going to pop off now that I say that. So I don't see anybody else with any questions. So thank you so much, and I do apologize. I did not come on at the prescribed time, but because I have followers and subscribers from around the world, doesn't mean it, because they see it and they jumped in. If you've jumped in and you like this mode, I am here on every Friday, and the people who are regular here at that time do say they enjoy it, and I do see that I get, you know, hundreds of views on these things. So even though sometimes I only have maybe 100 people come by, you know, during a session, you know, in and out, you know, end up getting quite a lot of people who will enjoy these longer videos. So thank you so much. I do want to send you out with some of the other stingers. I think that's a lot of fun. So let me show you energy wave theory by Jeff Yee. He's now going to be incorporating into some of his future videos. Jeff Yee, energywavetheory.com. Pretty nice. We have the nick of time, but this one has not been approved. So let's take a look at it anyways. Pretty cool too. And of course I have mine, but I'll be signing out. So remember what I say, folks. Stay critical, stay thinking, don't believe anything what I say. I am the science. No, I said all this wrong. My goodness, when I go and do this, I've got to stay consistent with this ending. My goodness. Anyways, stay thinking, stay critical, stay thinking. I'm David D. Hilster, your science therapist, trying to get you to the promised land of becoming science woke. Thank you so much for your participation. I do appreciate it. And I will end it with the stinger. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.